Okay, start the meeting. First item, welcome all. First item on the agenda is the minutes of the last meeting, which Tom published by email a little over a week ago. Does anyone want those minutes to be read? For any reason in particular? If not, a motion would be in order to approve those minutes.
Move to accept as written.
Okay, so Scott moves to accept
Second.
and Sal second. Any discussion on the minutes? Any changes, corrections, comments? No? If not,
Tom have any corrections?
if not, then all in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're done. Minutes are approved. Thank you, Tom, very much.
I have a question, if I may interrupt.
Yes.
There's 3 or 4 things in the minutes that are and suggest to be done, like the stretchers, personal protection gear and UTV trailer added to the capital assets inventory. Then status of generators and mechanics reports. Should we have in the agenda an item of old business where we can take these things up and see if they've been done yet? Or do we need to worry about that?
That sounds like it might be a good idea.
I mean, that would be fine. Basically, as we're getting the updated things, we had a bunch in fire that we're gonna be updating, and as soon as we get them, they'll be
Right.
in the system, and then we will have that conversation.
So to your point, I was going to ask about a couple of those things today.
Okay,
For example, I was gonna say, gee, I don't see the stretchers on the list. Well, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have that list of previously agreed items.
Yep.
And just to keep track of them so we won't forget. So would you
Okay.
mind to kind of accompany me with the minutes of maintaining that? Can you keep that list up for us?
Yeah.
That would be great. I think that's good.
Yep.
Then we'll cross them off as we get them done.
and then the agenda for next
Yeah.
meeting, another list perhaps, or at least the heading of old business,
Yes.
so we can go
We'll
back
add
and
the list and go back and look at it.
see if it needs to be done.
I think that's a good idea. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Okay. The second thing I put on the agenda is do a brief review of the needs for police, fire and ambulance. And the reason I put that there is we talked about them last time. And we basically reached agreement on most, if not all items, but you had not yet had time to update the spreadsheet, so we
Right.
didn't get to see the actual spreadsheet. When when Chad emailed out the spreadsheet a few days ago, most of those numbers were in there, and I was looking at it carefully. And if you all don't mind, as part of that review, with anything anyone else might have, I had a few questions, 3 or 4, things that I either remembered from the meeting or saw in the minutes, but that I couldn't quite, I'll say, substantiate in the new Excel, in the new file that Chet sent out. So I'll start, but please, my 3 or 4 questions aren't the only discussion of that subject. If there's anybody else who bring up anything, we can go to that, but I'll get it started. For example, I look at the capital worksheet and I don't see engine 1 listed as being replaced in 2031, fire engine 1. And I'm gonna look right now. I see no dollar value in the 2031 column in the capital worksheet for engine 1.
Okay,
Am I missing something, Chuck?
yes. What it is when you look at the 2031, okay?
Yeah.
That's the recommended year, and I believe when we were having our meeting, we switched it to 2036 for the replacement. And it's actually in 2036.
My recollection was we actually went the other way. I think the minutes say we went from 2036 to 2031. We can double check that.
It shows in 2036 right now.
Okay, and that's why I don't
And
see it.
basically, the items in yellow that say budget year,
Right,
that's where you make your choices, like, this is what's recommended, what are you actually doing? And I remember that being a 2036 when we had that conversation.
does that sound right, Hugh?
Well, I was
Engine
gonna say,
one.
you got 2011 as purchase with a 20-year lifespan, that would make it 2031.
And that's what gives it the recommended, but when we were having the meeting, I think that got pushed out, as I recall.
Help us out. Julie.
Anything else?
I don't
Okay,
either.
then we can make it
Yeah.
2031.
Not only don't I'm with you, Hugh, I had the same recollection, but if I look at the minutes, which I can do real quick here. I think they say 2031 was the final conclusion.
rather than 2036.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
so I,
Yeah,
I thought, then I will tell you that I think that error is because
There's a line item right there in the minutes.
we did it in the meeting
In the meeting. we
and
have
it
the
did
spreadsheet.
not
Right.
save for some
Right,
reason.
right, there you
So
go.
we will fix that.
So that's
right
why I
now.
asked the question.
Well, that's what we're here for, 2031.
All right.
Why is it not doing it? Cause I'm using the wrong
Yeah, let's
friggin'
give you
keyboard.
the time.
Is that because you dropped it or?
Actually, what it is I dropped my head on the floor and that's the problem, so. Yeah, so it's now in 2031.
All right, good. That was the first question.
That's the first one, that's.
Second question. So on the spreadsheet, the 1.5 ton pickup that you recommends to replace the 1 ton. He had, I think you had, you had said that it would need replacement in 2034. But it shows on the spreadsheet in 2031. 2034 is consistent with its year and
2034 is the
Is the
expected.
recommended.
right, and it showed up in 2031 on the file you sent me.
Okay, so what it is the one we corrected on here didn't save.
There you go.
And we'll double
So
check that.
So do you want to do that?
Well, that's what I'm saving as we go.
Right now, okay, good, that was the second one. The third one, the rescue vehicle,
Yes,
is listed in 2024 on the spreadsheet. Showing under the actual column, which is this past year,
and that's when we ordered it,
and it's showing it as an actual at 574,000 and change.
right?
But last year, I thought we said it would be, next year at 625,000.
That's already ordered.
It's ordered. It's ordered.
That's already ordered.
And good, that's good news.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's already ordered. It's gonna take us a year and a half to get it, but it's
Well, I
ordered.
understand that. But it was approved, it's been ordered and.
It's ordered and done.
574.5 is in.
That's correct. The 2024 is the correct date on it.
Good. Now what I wrote next is there's no dollar value in this spreadsheet for the planned tanker truck replacement in 2028. Tanker truck.
Looks like they pushed it out to 2034.
But that's not what we talked about last time.
I'm just saying. that's-
Yeah, I hear you, so.
So then is that 2028 staying with the recommended number?
Well, I'm trying to remember what you recommended and the committee agreed to. And I can look at the minutes to see if it's there.
It
But,
wasn't 28, because our next newest full purchase, we're gonna be looking at a lease purchase and a ladder truck to accompany engine too. So maybe total replacement, there was still some talk going on in that. With a 1.2 and 29, and then the engine in 31, so there wasn't that tanker.
Yeah, I don't remember conversation on it.
Conversation on
I
actual
don't either.
date, placement date.
That was bought in 2003. And it says 25 years, which is 28.
So if I look at a 28 column, I don't see a dollar value. In the one that was mailed out.
Okay.
So I don't
Am I
recall
right?
getting into
Am I
that
missing
in-depth
something?
conversation.
Well, because this says 2034. If it's gonna be 2028, that's fine, but this says 2024. So if it's 2028, it'll come up.
Is it, are we overriding or is it because the life was not
That was-
correct or what?
The life expectancy says 2028 that was listed.
Right.
So if I put 20, again, using our own
And I
keyboard,
think we went along with that last time, I believe.
now it's in there. As soon as you do that, it's right, it came,
It out.
Push it back, yeah.
All
I
right,
thought we
good.
did too.
So,
All right, I'm happy with that. It's just that I didn't.
But if you, as soon as you change this date, you see there, I put 2028 and it comes into 643 in 2028. So
All right.
it's just putting the date in.
All right, as long as you get it there in the 2028 column, which is where it belongs, right?
No, we were saying we were.
Oh,
pushed it out.
that back.
I think we pushed it out. to
You
2034.
and Sal is saying it was, that there was agreed that it should go out to
There
2034.
was
Okay.
a lot of
Got it.
conversation, but we chose if we we're gonna. push
And
out
there-
these
and there it
back,
is out there in
that doesn't
2034.
Carry the insurance quality.
Okay, so 2034, you can fix that?
I just did.
All right, good.
Pretty mouse go.
Yeah, because we talked about pushing that out to get income for the-
Okay, so let me think. So while we're at fire, before we go to my last question, I think coming
That
out.
was my recollection.
on fire, the 1.2 million. In what year do we show it in right now? It's.
Engine two.
Yeah, for engine two, it's, what year is it in right now?
Right, it's a recommend, yeah, we have it in 29 right now.
29. So
If we go lease, we can push it up, because I think that's the one that
I just,
we were talking about pushing up.
I just had an observation to offer the committee so that you'll think
Mhm.
about it as we go. Well, in the next month or two, looking at the overall budgets. The projected cost of replacing engine two in the last 3 to 4 years. Started out at 500,000 3 years ago, then it went to 700,000, then it went to 900,000. Now replacing it is at 1.2 million. So.
Well, it's 1.2 million because it's switching to a ladder.
I know that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the cost of replacing the truck we have
Yeah.
with another truck has gone up. A large amount in 3 to 4 years, and we need to be careful that we look at the impact on the towns, on affordability for the town. As the time comes, because that's a huge increase in relatively few years.
Yep.
That's
Well, and that's why we,
an observation I wanted to share with the committee.
Yeah, but all of your plow trucks have done the exact same.
Not that
percentages.
much. Yeah,
You'd be surprised, because what I bought for 155,000,
right, not 3.
3 years later.
Yeah.
Was 250,000, and that same truck right now is about 290.
Right, I hear you.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
that conversation is moot.
Yeah.
It's not
The
negative,
value of
it's
what-
cool.
What
It's
the
just,
cost,
yeah.
it costs.
well, and the
It's not-
reality
it's-
is one, and that's one of the reasons
What
we,
it might have cost.
we talked
Yeah.
about the ladder, and we'll see where the numbers are of being potentially a 5 or 7 year lease. Because there's such big numbers,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
where you get into
I thought
that,
that the general consensus
So-
was that we really wanted to consider the lease and we'd like to see some numbers on it.
correct, and that's
Right, right.
what I'm gonna get you.
Thank you.
The last question I had from the last meeting is about the power lift stretchers, and this goes to Tom's point. We had said we wanted to add the stretchers to the list, I
Right.
believe, but they weren't on the list yet.
Not yet,
So
they're,
just a reminder.
yep,
Okay.
got it.
Now, besides the stretchers, you mentioned another item a few minutes ago that we talked about adding. Oh, no, I know what it was, the personal protective equipment.
And,
Yeah.
and
It's the turnout
UTV,
gear for the fire, I have that on my list. yeah.
Combination of turnout
Right.
gear, SCBA's, helmets. et
everything.
cetera.
And the UTV trailer.
Right.
Personal protection
Correct,
equipment.
correct. That's
and
what
the
we're talking
UTV trailer as well.
So I just wanted to point out that besides the stretchers, that's the other line item we said we would add
Right.
that has not been added yet. So Tom will put it on the list on the tickler list, so to speak.
Yep.
All right, those are my questions from last meeting. Having reviewed the spreadsheet that we mailed out a few days ago. Does anyone else have anything from the last meeting we need to touch again? For fire, police and ambulance. Oh, I think on police. Believe it or not, there might be a question on police, so let me look real quick. I think it looks like there was a year where there might be a missing entry. In 2030, on the capital budget, this might be a carryover problem. I don't see any replacement at all in that year, and I was a bit surprised. Is that correct?
For which one?
There's no dollars for police. There's no cruiser in the capital budget worksheet, no dollar value in the 2030 column. And I think there should be. See that in my history?
Yeah.
'Cause this
they're all on
one-
The bicycle.
Hold on.
I mean, when you look at the capital worksheet for police,
Yep.
it
Oh, I'm
has,
sorry.
it has all the purchases.
It's 2030.
26, 27, 28, 20, 30, 29,
So is there a dollar value in 2030?
Yes.
yes,
Then
45,000.
if you go to the other sheet,
Justin.
capital budget, just so you know, it doesn't carry over.
Yeah, well, that's,
Fine.
I said, that's just,
That's that.
all that is the print mode, that's,
Good.
this is all the
Good.
guts.
All right, that takes care of everything from
Yeah.
fire, police and ambulance.
Yeah.
So I think we're ready to proceed to the next item on the agenda, which is highway vehicle.
Well, we're gonna, I'm
Go ahead.
gonna just, for the purpose of just getting it out of the way, cemeteries.
Okay,
We just did a tour of the 12 cemeteries that are in town. There's a significant amount of work that is needed in a lot of them. But as it relates to capital budget and capital budget planning, they don't qualify, you know. At some point, there may be a place where, like South Road, for example, it has so much drainage issues that we may want to consider actually digging out the roadway and putting some actual gravel in so we can actually create a stop bar type of a thing. You know what I mean? But that'll be something we get to in the future. As it stands now,
As of
it's
right now,
mostly regrading. There's some fence issues if they
There's
start
work
to
to be
become
done.
big. Yeah, there's work, a lot of
a lot
work
of
to be
work to be
done.
done, but no capital.
No
equipment.
capital equipment needs or any of that at this point, so.
Okay, all right.
And the mowers that we just bought, they were under the capital
They were-
numbers anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
So just, we
Okay.
can put that one done
Cemeteries, for now.
for now.
Cemeteries is more of a maintenance planning.
Yes,
Right, right.
so.
All right, so with that, we go to highway vehicles, and what's the best way? Let me turn it over to you, if you could guide us through what you and Bob talked about,
Well, when we,
where we stand.
well, we basically, well, we just got the report from Hugh, I mean, not from Hugh, from, I keep saying Hugh, from Guy.
Yeah.
About an hour ago.
Right,
So and they kind of, it does actually, in a quick glance, kind of measure up, but the one thing is we look at the entire fleet that we have. The biggest changes that we made were related to the life expectancies. Okay, we went from 6 years to 8 years for the dump trucks. We took a couple of the pickups down from 15 years to 10, and just tried to get them into what we consider to be a reasonable lifespan. And we're open to having conversations with that. But in general, right now we have the tractor's a 12-year life, the loader is a 12-year life. Of all the pieces of equipment, based on the couple we bought and the couple of trucks that we're getting next year, the biggest item of need is a loader. The loader is reached its edge. It's let's see, it's a 2012. And that is the next most important vehicle. And if you go to the capital worksheet, we basically put that as a 2025 year purchase. And with the $250,000 appropriation, we would be able to pay for that with cash. And you will note when you look at fiscal year 26, 27, 28, and 29, in each of those years, there is a truck replacement. And with the proper appropriation, they all work. So there's, I believe, all four of those, I believe, are 6-wheel dumps that are getting replaced over that
So
time.
If I may, on that point, you said the green column is.
Is the current
coming
year,
year,
is the year we're budgeting. That's the
And-
budget year.
because of color blindness or something, I can't quite read it, but you're saying that number right there. right
That's
there.
249 is the,
What?
is the loader
That number
replacement.
was not in the spreadsheet you emailed to us on that line. I'm looking at it. I don't know why, but I'm glad it's there. I was gonna question.
It's set up for 2025. It was recommended for 24. And 2025 is the purchase year, and we also have on that year,
Did it
a
change
roller.
since you sent the spreadsheet out?
no,
See the green column here? I only have one number in that whole green column, which
Okay.
is for the vibratory roller
okay,
at
Well-
29,991.
okay. The
Right.
249 is for the current year. And then the next year we have, the roadside mowers listed
Got that,
and the Western Star 6-wheel dump.
got that.
And
Those
the
show.
85,000
Yeah.
for the mechanics pickup.
Something's very odd. Just
Okay.
in case, just for you to take a look at, make
Yeah.
sure it's in there without any.
Yeah, it's all here right now, so,
Okay, good.
How do you wanna go through this?
I mean, basically-
Let's just move through each item
I
separately.
mean, if you wanna
Yes, I'd like to
talk
go
about
through
each one and we go from that and.
That was the overview, yeah.
And then,
do that.
and basically Bob and Hugh could speak to the condition of the equipment and you can then compare this to that.
Let's just, go to the top and
Okay,
go. Which sheet we gonna use, this one or the worksheet?
Well, I think the capital worksheet, because the other one is just the life expectancy and replacement costs, which travel over.
all right.
So
Okay.
basically, we're talking about the mechanics pickup, which has a 2026 purchase.
Right.
And the,
Yeah.
where'd it go? These are, and one thing I will be doing is changing the numbers to correspond to how they're listed. What was in the capital sheet last year was not in the order of the truck numbers.
Oh, yeah, the truck number.
So it just be a lot easier to follow.
That'll help, yeah.
Improve on this year's.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, we're gonna,
The first thing here, GMC number 2, which truck number is it on? The guys, on guys sheet?
that is actually number 2.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah. it is.
2016 GMC 3500, condition is fair. And it did $2,000 worth of a brake job last year and it has 84,000 miles.
Got it, and the replacement cost in 2025 is $85,000.
Correct.
Yeah, got it. Okay, keep going.
Wait a minute, so we're buying that next year?
26,
Yeah,
the following year.
yeah, 26.
The 2,500 is a $70,000 replacement.
I'm
And-
sorry, hang on just a second. Okay. Not too fast.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so it's scheduled to be replaced in 2026, but if it's in fair condition, does this thing get used a lot? Is it high use volume? Do we really need to buy it in 2026? Can we push it back a little bit?
It was pushed, it wasn't 15 years, so this truck here was actually due to be replaced 2 years ago.
Okay.
They decided to hold on to it and they bought the truck one, which is the white GMC that Bob currently uses now. And they decided to keep it because they could with the money that they had, and it gave the crew a truck to take around, put a fuel tank in, run daily. It's pretty much daily. It runs out, it runs for parts. It runs to fuel equipment, they dragging chipper around, things like that. So
And plows.
it's and it also
Yeah.
plows / backup plows. That's the other thing, a lot of this truck's life has been very hard, like, it's not 84 highway miles, it's 84,000 miles with a 9-foot V plow on it, plowing parking lots and roads that we can't get with the big trucks once in a while, so that's.
And,
So
and
it's your guys' opinion that we really need to replace this in 2026? Or, because if we're going to replace it in 2026, if we purchase it in 2026, you're not gonna get it for another year or two, right?
no, this truck, these are
This
more
truck is
available.
This truck-
These are more available. This is like a,
It's a pickup.
yeah.
One ton pickup.
Yeah.
And technically, we do have the money to move it up to 2025. Like, we can do that, because that's the one thing. And I understand where you're going with that, but the one thing we want to keep in mind is the goal to get, this is what, if we had replaced everything on cycle, that's the amount of money we got to be putting in.
Mhm.
We're a little bit shy. It'll take us 3 years to get there, but we have enough cash because we didn't buy anything out of this fund this year. Okay, that we can make sure that we buy things on time. Like, the goal is not to let them keep going.
I totally understand.
You know what I mean? So I just wanna make sure-
What I'm doing is I'm trying to make sure
Right.
I understand
Right.
the question,
Okay.
right? Like whether this truck is in fact needed to be replaced, because as you know, I'm not only here, but I'm also sitting on the budget committee.
Correct.
And I have to make a decision both ways.
Right.
I want to understand, and I know Mark wants to understand, because he's in the same place that I am. right? Both
Well,
on the budget.
And
I
it's,
want to understand it so that when we get there to the budget committee, we can make our, we can let our, what we learned available to the people who are not in this meeting.
and the other thing too with this truck is, and I don't know what's planned out for the water and sewer. But and we got talking about that a little bit last week, the last meeting, it's the change in place of what these vehicles are actually doing. There's not a budget in there for John to have a truck upgrade, because he's running around in an SUV that's been down for a month and a half now. That may be a viable place to put this thing for a couple of years where it's not gonna be at its end of life with
Right.
that sort of usage,
Yeah.
but with us, it would be approaching that end of life even.
Got
Not to always give them hand-me-downs. But if we're in a spot where we need to make something happen
Sure.
financially and stuff, and they operate on that different function of the billables.
Sure.
It may be something to transfer over in the big scheme of things.
Right.
And
Police car recently got together with somebody else.
And the goal with the budget committee will be to explaining where the 376 come from and why you do it, and then looking at, the 250,000, which is the $50,000 increase to try and get to the 376. So basically, that's in a nutshell what the budget committee's deciding is, are we gonna approve the $250,000 appropriation? And that's what we want to get them to understand, why we're doing it, why it's necessary, and how that looks going down the road.
Right, so according to your preliminary numbers, the way it's standard, that's latest version, right?
Yeah.
What you're saying is we can theoretically move the purchase of that up to 2025,
Yes, from a cash perspective, yes.
right, from a cash perspective, right? And then theoretically, we could move that over to John, let him use that truck
It,
And it would run for several years because it's not gonna take, it's not gonna
Right.
get as much use as it would theoretically in the high.
Same
right?
kind of use,
Right.
right? No, yeah, there's no type of 100% guarantee on it, but
Right.
actually
Well,
more of
you
a,
know, card-
more of a road mileage versus
Yeah.
Right.
pushing snow, pulling equipment every day.
All right, so
See-
that's something that we're gonna have to think about.
and when you think about this, see that 311 that's up there for 2026, that's the carryover money. So that's the money at the end of 2025 that's supposed to be available. That's why you know you have the money available to buy it a year earlier. Because that year we have to spend 500,000 on a couple of things. So it's basically an appropriation leveler is the goal. So one year you'll use less because then the next year after that, we're down to 26,000.
It's a matter of building the bank to draw from
As it needs to come.
as you need it. That's what we do.
Yeah, so that's the goal. So the 250 works, the 300 works, and then if we doing it all correctly, we still will only have a $26,000 balance starting 2027. And we keep with the appropriations and we could still make it work. So this is the column you most worry, this is the row you most worry about. This is your carryover money to make sure you're maintaining a balance that you can actually continue to buy things on a regular
And
schedule.
that goes in the rate you gotta tell you.
Right, and that's actually kind of the nice thing, because what you say is, a lot of times they'll say, well, we don't need to buy anything this year. So if I go, well, I'm gonna go make that 0. It's like,
No,
oops.
No, we don't, no.
You know what I'm
we
saying? I
don't
mean,
do that.
so you can actually quantify the whole process is to say, look, this is what happens when you try to skip a year.
Put that back.
So that's where that truck is, and I hadn't gone that far into the depth, but the fact that the water sewer and the stuff he has to do work-wise, having a viable truck that's actually a pickup would be a lot better than what he's driving.
I just have one question about that discussion, shooting from moving. Did I just hear you say at one point after next year, we got down to $11,000?
26,000,
How much?
26, right
I
there,
don't see that number. Where is that?
right there on the balance forward. It's line number 56.
Line number 56. My
It goes
balance
from
forward
341, 311 to 26.
I'm not seeing it.
Mine's not, mine doesn't do that at all. The one that's emailed to us says, on that row, on row 57, the number next year is 376,000, and the year after is 357.
One thing that did change,
Ah.
one thing
Yeah.
changed today,
Yeah,
is when I went to see Carrie Ann,
yeah,
you see this number here, the balance forward, the first one?
yeah.
That was the expected fund balance last year.
Okay,
I got the actual today.
and
It's 141, 388, so it's about 40, it's almost 50,000 less.
50,000 less, but I'm seeing a number that's,
It's that 341 in 2025. Like this year in 2024 is that 341, 388.
Right.
see, those numbers are not on the spreadsheet you mailed out. So we'll deal with that later, because you've made a correction or two, and we'll look at it at the next iteration.
Okay,
All right?
so
We don't
that's,
need to get
that's
off on
where
that.
that is. So that's how this works.
All right, let's keep going like Sal said.
$26,000 anywhere on my.
Well, no, it would have
It's-
been like 80 some
It would
thousand
want
on your
some.
sheet.
Excuse me.
It's not on mine either.
It would have been over 80,000 because we
That's
just
okay,
dropped
but
it by
You
50.
have that number on your sheet that you're looking at?
Yes, this
You
is
have
the
you
sheet.
have a different sheet you're operating with than the one we're operating
He's,
with, that you sent us.
I'm changing things as we're sitting here doing it, so.
I understand.
So-
I'm just trying to make sure that I
So,
understand.
yeah.
When I look at what I've got
Let me
here,
make
it's
a
not not valid anymore.
Okay,
That's not
Excuse me.
helpful.
Excuse me, for the future. At a certain point in time, maybe on a Monday of a meeting week, Chet will send us an email like this. But he's gonna keep working. He's got the live version on his computer.
Right.
And it may change a day or two later, as long as you know what those changes are, so that we don't get
Yep.
confused here.
Yep.
But during the meeting, he's even making changes that we don't see.
You gotta say those numbers right there reflected of what, when you changed the purchase year? Well, that remaining, because now you just drew that money out this year.
You're drawing it out
instead of
sooner. It
next.
changes the whole thing. As soon as you move it one column, it changes every number out.
Right, right.
Just change
So
it.
I just wanted everybody to understand that we get a snapshot in time a couple days before the meeting, but that's not where it's up. It might change a little bit more. As long as you can identify.
Yep.
Things like that for us, so
Yep.
that we can understand.
All right, so let's
Proceed.
go back to
Next one.
GMC number 2. What we're doing
Yep.
is we're gonna move that purchase to
2025.
2025.
Okay, so now that goes in there and that changes all those numbers again. But now when you get out 3 years, that number stays the same, like, because it's still the total, it just changed which year it's happening. So, and
Technically, the transfer of the vehicle from highway to copy over water and sewer, that's at the discretion of the select board?
yes,
Okay. Just wanted to
yeah.
make sure I understand.
So basically, what it would come down to, like, if we're gonna start selling some equipment, if we're gonna start selling some equipment at like. The SUV may get sold.
Select board is the one that's supposed to determine as far as vehicles that are excess vehicles to be sold or what is retained.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, they're supposed to.
Well, I mean, you will, so don't worry, you know, it's not that hard to figure. You guys should figure it out.
Okay, we need to keep moving.
Next,
The next one on the list is the.
GMC pickup, the
GMC
2500, it's a 2022.
Yeah.
Good to excellent, no issues with that.
No.
Unless Bob has made it dirty since he took it over.
The next one is,
Needs rear brakes, first time now, and we just really technically have a little sense of it.
So-
and you suspect that that will last for 10, well, have a 10-year life, basically.
Yeah, I mean, 10 years, yeah.
Yeah, Bob driving, it's not gonna work.
10 years is pushing it any. It's, yeah.
so the next one on the list says Western Star number 6. I think that is,
Well-
that number 6 is supposed to be truck number 6, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
Check in a second.
Good.
But that one actually has an 8-year life, Bob. You guys have that in.
we just changed that to an 8-year life
Yeah.
when Bob and I met,
And what's the replacement year now? Is it?
29. Instead of, that's still 2 years after the expected, because the purchase year was 20, where'd it go? I gotta go look at the worksheet. That's the Western Star number 6, 2019. Yeah, we don't need that. We've got it healed.
They're
He's
gonna
got
be
this whole
moving
thing.
the purchase of that up 1 year?
Out. They moved out when we switched it. Those trucks were, when they were purchased, they were a 6-year cycle. And we've changed all of the big trucks to an 8-year cycle. For the purposes of this conversation.
Now,
So that's
you-
why it's 2 years beyond what it
So the
was.
GMC 2500, right, it was purchased, purchased in 2022.
Yep.
And we say we have an 8-year cycle, so we're gonna buy it in 2030. Is that how that all works out?
No, that was on a 10-year cycle.
That was on 8. I believe.
That one
I'm
else?
looking at it again.
That's an
I know
8.
sheet
That's an
of-
8-year cycle.
Oh, that was an 8-year.
That's an 8-year cycle.
But so the question is,
Oh,
should
originally
it be 10?
I don't think so.
Okay. you guys-
Yeah, I would argue,
10.
I would argue that if you
Originally
want,
10, I'll argue that 10 is too long because of the emission systems now.
Okay.
And-
I'm just asking-
No, I'm just saying because of
the reality
emission
is,
systems.
and if we have a truck that comes out perfect because Gob keeps it in the garage and he cleans it all the time and it does all that, when we get to the 8 years and you keep it, that's a bonus.
Theoretically now, what we're saying is everybody that
Right.
knows what's going on with these machines is saying we should have an 8-year replacement cycle on this.
That's fine.
Yeah, and I would say that's an outside. Typically, a lot of places choose 7. 6 was a little tight.
Well,
You know?
what some of these towns are pushing because of your duty service cycle on these. They are trying to get rid of them before your extended warranty runs out. Because you're looking
And
at
that's
12 to
seven.
15 grand.
Yeah.
On one of these DEF systems.
Yeah. And 7 years
That-
typically is your extended warranty
That's
program.
if you bought an extended warranty. I'm not sure if we did on these trucks, did we?
No, these don't have it.
These
These don't have it,
no.
but I hear you.
But if you're buying
We should
new,
consider
it's,
that.
it's
Oh,
becoming,
absolutely.
it's something that you want to consider going
Definitely wanna
forward.
Consider going forward. Yeah.
So
All right.
all of these trucks going, basically all of the trucks have switched to an 8-year cycle.
Okay,
Um,
so we were about to go to truck number 6, right?
Well, the truck company.
Am I right?
Yes.
6-wheel dump. And before we spend a lot of time on it, I have a general question about all the 6-wheel dumps. A year ago, the previous highway superintendent was strongly recommending that we plan to replace every 6-wheel dump truck with a 10-wheel dump. He had some good rationale behind that. At the time, the price difference was like 10 or 15% more. You could get a 10-wheel truck, and he had a lot of good reasons for that. I don't remember all those reasons because I'm not a truck expert, but as a committee, I think we pretty much bought his argument. So now I see we're back to looking at replacing six-wheel dump trucks. And I wanted to ask this committee, what's going on? What do you guys think? What are the
Well,
equipment extras?
just so you know, that's just a list of what we have.
Got it?
We're not replacing it with that. If you look at the prices, everyone is a
Thank you.
ten wheel.
That answered the question.
So
All right.
ten wheel is what's in
So
the
we have a
system.
six-wheel, but we're
When you
planning to
go-
replace it with a ten-wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
You
with the
100%
previous-
agree.
See this?
All right, fine.
See those 300,000 in this cycle?
I noticed that too.
That's tandems.
I didn't know if we just needed new estimates.
No, we're okay with that, so.
Those that,
I hear you. I hear you. Okay, good. All right. good.
I have-
Yeah, no, there's really, you either need a tandem or you need a smaller truck, like even a Freightliner M2106, like a smaller one that can carry a wing well. That's
Fine.
what you need. You don't, the six wheeler,
I don't argue it. I just wanted to ask why.
Well,
You're
yeah.
right. That's a list of what we have.
yeah,
But you
If we
plan-
come to
Yeah.
the point where we do decide we need to keep 1.6 or something.
Well, we might.
We'll have more than enough money, so. we
Yes,
should-
right,
yeah, and
yeah.
we never,
I'm fine with
the
that.
big thing is between hauling and everything else, they get the same fuel economy, twice
You
as
don't
much
have to
haul.
convince me. Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
it's
no.
crazy. It's crazy.
We were convinced last year, I thought, but
So,
okay. good.
so yeah, everything is planned that way cost wise, and there's only about a $25,000 difference between them.
Right.
Tom, would you please make sure you put into the minutes that all of the six-wheel dump trucks are gonna be replaced?
Well,
with
most,
these?
we use the word most.
There's,
We may
I've
keep
got-
one or two.
because there's applications where 10.
I've got it. I've got it.
Best application to have for six.
That's good. That's good. Yeah,
if you
So-
need to set crossways.
that was truck number 6 and it's
Okay, then I have a question.
So our
If
60
we- if
is
we're
very
saying-
hard to load.
I'm sorry.
one at a time, guys.
Sorry. Go ahead. I interrupted, I'm sorry.
Well, as you know, Scott and I were just talking about there's different applications where like sitting sideways in the road, bailing, trying to bail into a 10-wheeler. With our mini excavator, it's pretty hard to load a 10-wheeler, especially when you get in different levels, so.
Yeah.
That's where the 6-wheelers actually come in handy, you don't need, you're better off to have more 10-wheelers in your fleet than what you are 6s.
Got it.
So let me ask this question, in your numbers, are you the cost that you're projecting for replacing any six-wheel dump, is it a 10? to
Yes.
Replace it as a 10-wheeler?
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
because it's
okay.
not that much difference in price.
I understand,
Yeah.
but I'm saying, that the assumption is, from a cost perspective.
We're
gonna
planning
replace
that way,
everything with the 10-wheel.
correct. But the
That's-
intent is in practice, one or two won't get there. We won't be doing all tandems, 100%. And all I'd be lowering is from if you want me to do it, I can lower to 300,000 by 25 grand, but I think that's a mistake from a planning perspective.
I think it's a mistake with what prices have done.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it just gives us that little extra cushion and it's a good planning tool and it's only 25,000 over 8 years.
I don't foresee prices coming back down.
So on that
My
note,
level.
we have 3 6-wheelers now.
Yeah.
A couple of them are planned for replacement in future years. What I'm hearing is when the time comes, we might replace it with a 6. But for the moment, we're gonna plan financially, as though we're gonna replace it with a 10.
Right.
But we might not in 1 or 2 cases,
Well, they-
and, but we don't need to face that decision this year. Is what I'm hearing.
No.
That each year we will review our needs. In
Yeah.
3 or 4 years from now, we might say, you know, that line item, truck number, whatever, 7, we'll say, let's buy another 6.
So what you're saying is, it's good to have six-wheelers around because that's what we can load with the mini excavator like that.
The majority of your fleet should be a 10-wheelers.
I understood.
But it doesn't matter to have that, you know, there's some tight roads where you can still run a 6-wheeler and then
Might be good, yeah.
operations in the summertime.
I understand.
It's handy to have one around for.
I haven't
So theoretically, should we be replacing all the, when we get to a replacement now, we should just replace it with a 10 until we have
Right now.
1.6 left,
That's what I'm hearing.
Is that the
Yeah,
thought
that's
process?
kind of what I'm hearing, yeah.
right? And then replace that 6 with another 6.
Honestly, the way
We might,
these trucks
yeah.
are, I go a loader and a 10-wheeler on and at least both of those again next year.
I found.
That's what I was hearing.
Yes, okay, got it, understood that.
All right, so the next one, that was number 6, it's planned in 29. Truck number 7 is planned in
26.
26. And truck number 7, the condition is fair. 43,000 miles, et cetera, so it sounds like that's a reasonable recommendation. 27, right?
And on those trucks, the one thing you want to look at that he's listing more important than miles is the hours. When you get
Yes.
up in the 5,000 hour range, that's when you're getting to the end of well, you're getting to an expensive part of the life. How's that?
What year did you quote just now? Again?
When you look at that,
20.
it's that's a 2017, but I was saying that.
No,
you
no,
said-
no,
Oh.
no, the replacement year.
28,
It's
28.
26.
No, 26.
They-
Western Star is in
26.
26.
Got it. I agree. I see that. Okay. And the next one is
That's for
the
the 10 wheel.
truck number 5, 6-wheel dump truck. And that's out in 28, I think, right?
Yep.
And that's truck number what again? 5, and the condition is?
Yeah.
Current needs rust repair,
So that is,
fair condition.
that is a under CDL truck.
What does that
Keep
mean?
in mind.
That's the one I was talking about, the
26,000.
international M2106. It goes under 26,000 pounds, so therefore you're not required to have a CDL.
Oh, okay. Got it. I understand.
And I was just telling Bob, the work that I did, the 2 trucks that I used the most were the 10-wheelers. And we had 2 of that class truck,
That size truck. yeah.
that size truck, because using that mini excavator. And they were the catch me out for bailing in and out of. We have them out there, we had them 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
It's a big difference, and it eliminated the 550 class.
Right.
How did you
Because
like, how did you like the 4-wheel drive? They're a pain in the ass. Cause you were always having to adjust the front pumpkin and everything, like it was always a mess.
The only thing we ever had, that you had to adjust on it was the, hub,
Yeah, the springs.
but it. We had one problem, those are 2012s. There's only been one front differential that's had to have any,
Okay. We had newer ones and
So, yeah, so
they
all
were
this-
having to go in for adjustment every year. It was a real pain in the ass.
Really, yeah.
And but they were Meritor front ends.
Oh,
yeah, that's what they're all using now.
I know, which is,
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
I know nothing about trucks and CDLs.
So, Are we talking about the 2015 International?
Yes.
Yes, and that one was bought used.
Truck number 5 on guy's
Right,
list.
but that's, that allows you to have somebody who does not have a CDL to
Correct.
drive it, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you wanna have at least one of those around the fleet.
And that might be the one we'll keep at that size when the time comes.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
I'd rather-
No, that's a
4
direct
years out,
replacement.
but yeah.
Direct replacement. You don't,
Yeah, that's
that
a little
one-
smaller than your standard
Right.
6-wheel dump truck.
Right, and I think,
Okay,
so that's
okay.
the one that might be replaced as a 6-wheeler versus a 10.
well, and that's a small 6-wheeler. We're gonna have a regular 6-wheeler and a sub 6-wheeler, let's call it.
That
Again,
one-
it's 4 years out.
And
so
I-
specific decision.
I
will
work
come
to
later.
go with that class because you can have air brakes.
Yep.
So if you hook chipper behind it, and you gotta stop in a hill. You got something other than a parking pole and an emergency brake to hold it.
That's correct.
When you set the brakes, you get out of the truck, you don't look and say,
There-
where's it going?
They're extremely useful, because
In
actually
your mind,
in
Bob,
Killington, we had 4 tandems and 2 of those.
So Bob, in yours mind, you're definitely gonna be replacing this one with a 6-wheel.
We're gonna replace it in kind.
Yeah, it's a.
It's
6-wheel,
in
but
kind.
Yeah, it's a smaller class. It's under CDL.
Right, so that wouldn't.
So that would be a direct replacement.
So
That
that
would
wouldn't
be.
cost as much as a 10-wheeler, correct?
No,
No,
No.
right, yeah.
so,
So if we've made that decision already, why don't we,
well, that one will be 200,000, so we can adjust the,
There you go.
or a little less, so we can go there and let's see, that's the international, let's call that one 200.
Yeah, you can get it.
yes, that's exactly.
Yes.
Okay, next one
Just
is
figured out
the
how to, we have another 100 grand to float.
Western
This is great.
Star 21. It's-
See, now, and that took the appropriation down by 13 grand.
Yeah, sure. Western Star 21, it's a 10-wheel dump, it's truck number 10, and it shows on the spreadsheet as being way out in something like 2030, I think. So that's truck number 10, good
It's an
condition.
interesting thing, it says 2030.
It's a 2021.
230. I mean, the yellow thing, in the yellow, it says.
Well, it's 2030.
2030.
I had fixed that while we were sitting here, because the 0 wasn't in there.
Clean up your-
Yeah, no, I got it.
So I think we just move on, right?
Yeah.
Next one is Western Star number 8, truck number 8, 6-wheel dump.
And that's the 27 it's listed in.
Number 8, and it's in fair condition, it's 2016, so it's already 8 years old.
Yeah, and.
Oh, and we're showing that, okay, got it,
That had $16,000 worth of repairs last year.
shows replacement in 2027.
That's what it is
2
right
years from
now.
Okay.
And
We
again,
all right with that one, with it?
and I don't, and it, the purpose is right now in 26, we're buying a truck, and if we have to switch which one it is, that could happen depending on if one takes a turn for the worse.
So we'll buy one each year is what it comes down to.
Starting in 26, there's one
Yeah,
for
yeah,
each year.
Yeah, when you get close, because we're a year and a half out if you order it today,
Right.
and I did that in the past, you tell them it's gonna be one of these 3 trucks that's gonna be traded. Depending on which one is the worst.
Right. No, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah. So I think we're okay with that, as you say. You could end up switching which one it is you replace, but bottom line is you need one, we basically need to buy one large dump truck per year.
Yeah.
If we're gonna keep turning them over like this. Yeah. So, just like the police cruisers, we buy one every year, on a 6-year cycle, so. All right, the next thing I see on the list is the Dodge number 4 1-ton, 5,500, it's truck number 4, I guess.
Number 4, yeah.
And it's in good condition, it's only got 6,800 miles. You know what I was wondering on Guy's report? Why would a truck with 6,800 miles have needed a rear brake job already?
Yeah, current, it's actually 13,000, that was
Oh,
last year's.
13,000.
Yeah.
I can tell you that.
But that was bad enough too.
That was a problem.
Yeah.
I don't care what brand you buy. In these, if it's Dodge, Ford, or whatever. Your road salt, you cannot buy a brake rotor now. That is worth anything.
Really, they're made of junk metal. So
Yeah,
that was
they're
not
made
good.
of junk metal.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
what
yeah.
you get is you get that salt spray
Yep,
goes onto those primarily
Yeah.
the rear rotors.
see that,
And you can't turn them anymore. I tried twice
can't.
turning
all
them
right.
and chunks come out of them because
That's
they're
it.
junk metal.
We don't need to spend more time, you're right.
No, I'm saying, we
This-
planned on all of our 550s.
Yep.
Got a brake job every year,
Wow.
And
just
this-
scheduled.
Wow.
But this is also chasing wiring issues from corrosion. One of the things that
Got
we're
it.
trying to get better at is cleaning those contacts and stuff.
I was
So,
just surprised at 13,000 miles.
That's all the
All right,
trucks, right? Dump trucks.
I believe so, yeah.
and when do we show that replacement?
Well, there's actually one down the bottom, which is the one that's been ordered. That's the replacement has been ordered.
Yeah,
Okay.
number 3 and number 9 have already been ordered.
Right.
Right, yeah. So back to where we were though, number 4,
We're
it looks like
Volvo.
it's out there in 2031 or so.
Yes.
Okay, and that's appropriate.
Yep, because that's the same cycle.
Ooh. If, oh, it's in 20, in my spreadsheet, it shows in 2032, and that's a 10-year cycle. Is 10 years the right life for that? Maybe that needs to be
No.
changed to 8.
What are we talking about again?
The
Truck number 4.
We can change that to 8.
Yeah.
Right now, it looks to me like it's on a 10-year
Now it's
replacement.
now it's in 2030.
So you just moved it. Thank you. Next. Volvo loader.
I have a question before we move on out of trucks. Are there, since we're thinking about putting together at least one vehicle being considered for the leasing option, right, the fire thing that you like, the ladder. Are there any, is there any thought about putting one of these trucks in? Just,
Not at this time.
okay,
The issue becomes, if one of these things becomes like, okay, we gotta order it now, we weren't gonna order it till next year and we're gonna go negative in the cash.
yeah,
That would be the time for that.
okay,
But at this moment, that has not been
all right. Just
discussed like that.
raising the issue, so trucks
Yeah.
are gonna just be buying,
At this point, after
Currently-
the 2 that are on a lease,
Yeah.
the hope is we can just buy them cash as we need.
just wanna make sure
Good.
we all
That was
have the
the,
same
that was the
page.
hope last
We
year.
understand that,
Yeah.
okay, good.
That was the hope last year.
Yeah, no, I understand,
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
wanna make sure that
Um,
we're still in the same place.
The Volvo loader, this
This
shows
is good.
replacement in 2027, if I'm reading that right?
Well,
Is
we've
that
moved, that one is the one that you were talking about and it's now been moved to 2025.
Ah,
Okay, because that is the one thing that's not in great condition as far as equipment goes.
So you have
It's
moved it.
it's poor to fair as far as condition.
Yeah,
Agreed.
Needs
So
tires, like you're gonna spend a bunch of money on
the
it.
file you emailed showed it in 20.
Yeah, that's where it was, and
Section.
then we just,
You've
we
moved
just
now.
moved it,
You've
we
moved
just
it
moved it
since.
up.
Fine. All
So
right.
that's the one that's listed at your 249 in the
Right.
budget year.
Right. Okay, so that explains that. The next one is the Kubota mini excavator. That's brand new. We got it last year.
That's a Hitachi.
It's actually a
Hitachi, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it says Kubota question mark.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
ain't
yeah,
nothing, and it's-
And these were
I'll
taken
show
from
you
the
the-
old list and we just gotta
Right, yeah,
update them,
So why
so.
don't you change that on your master, on your sheet right now, so that.
Cause that one I can't change.
Oh,
So what is it now?
That's in the protected section. I gotta.
Datsun,
Hitachi,
Hitachi.
yeah, it's a Hitachi.
Turned out being a
Just a different brand, yeah.
Hitachi instead of a Kubota, all right,
Yeah.
that's fine.
almost like. a
Um,
John Deere.
Everything that's in yellow is what I can play with while I sit here.
If I may, there was a lot of controversy about getting a little mini thing. How's it working out for you guys?
All that things.
Is it useful?
Use it almost every day. Yeah.
Very
Those
useful?
things are
All right.
amazing, what they can do.
The prices they can get compared to a conventional backhoe,
and so now I gotta remember, there's all the people who said that's a stupid idea, I'm not gonna listen.
It
to
was
that
at the
anymore.
deliberative session. There were people at the.
Well, but
deliberative
it's
session.
something that not every town wants to do, so
Now-
the problem was,
I remember,
the problem was is where it put us in the situation with the backhoe.
right,
Yeah.
Right,
Yes,
It
right.
wasn't the fact that the town
Right.
needed the mini,
Yeah.
it was what we were in the situation with. the
All right,
backhoe.
okay.
And there's also the concept of
Easy,
like,
right?
when we would do a lot of ditch work, like we would take a month and do ditch work. We would just rent a larger excavator for 1 month and not have to own it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that, cause you need to be with at least a 311 or 312, preferably a 315 or 16.
Mm.
If you're gonna do some of these ditches and do them the way
the
we should do them, so,
reconstruction side of it.
yes.
Yeah.
As long as. the
So it
current
just,
guys are
it takes
comfortable with
time.
that.
Yeah,
Fine.
I mean, I think that
But the
would be,
maintenance side and culverts.
Yeah.
That 60, you.
Yeah.
You can stay on the side of the road you're working on.
You know.
oh, the mini, then
Right,
you
well,
can.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So the next one is Ford tractor. I don't know what number that is, or a Ford tractor 1520.
That was-
Find out on a guy's list.
If you put, if you go back to the year of what it was. And you put in what the life is supposed to be, that was supposed to be replaced in 2003.
Before it was built.
Yeah.
Before
we bought it.
Before we bought it. So
Yeah.
the condition's fair. It's something we need to be considering right now. It's listed at 2028. And I don't know if.
So you're
anybody-
probably not gonna see that on the list, cause that came from water and sewer when they bought.
No, it's on the list. It's on the list.
It's, no, he's talking about the buy plate.
Yeah.
Buy list.
Oh,
Yeah,
Tracking back, that came from water and sewer, transferred over the highway.
All right,
and
okay.
when they got their Kubota.
right.
So I'm reading a number that looks a little small to me, $32,019.
Because they
Is that
were
about
buying
right?
used.
Or to buy a used
We don't,
one?
it's not a heavy use item for the town.
So that plan is to buy a
Buying
used
new.
one there.
We would not plan to buy new.
All right,
and that's gonna be the plan going forward, is to buy used.
I mean,
For that one.
for that particular item, it
Yeah,
would
I
never
mean,
be
yeah.
worth, just like we're in the process of trying to find a used skid steer for the transfer station,
right.
because you're not gonna go spend $80,000 for one of those,
so brand new one, okay, got it.
you know what I mean? It's like,
Got it. All right, the next item then is the heavy haul trailer, it says.
Okay, good.
and that says 50,000. That's one I really don't know a lot about. I believe that's the,
Do we have it on guys' report?
Yeah. It's on the
What
left.
what does it say about it? Heavy haul trailer is what it's called. And,
Oh, that's the 25 ton.
Which one is that?
it says it's in fair to good condition,
It should be, it's not that old.
right? So it's not huge. It's,
On your sheet. it
Right
should
now
be
listed at
as
20.
Custom haul, 25 ton grade.
right.
That's your heavy haul.
All right, and the placement right now is planned for 2028, is that right?
Yes.
Okay,
What did you put for a lifespan on that?
Where'd it go? There it is. 25 years.
Okay.
Okay.
Because they're not hauling that 160 Volvo frequently on it, that should last.
Bob, I assume you'll speak up anytime if you have a concern.
Oh, yeah.
in your meeting. Please, don't be bashful.
Oh, no, I've
Okay,
been through a
All right.
lot of this with you guys.
okay,
so, yeah.
good, good.
We're on the same page.
So the next item is the army trailer, it says, with a welder.
It's like, okay.
Which one is that?
Huh?
No, it's not on here.
It's not, maybe it's not a guy's report.
No.
And do we show replacement for that ever or what?
It shows in 2033,
All right,
it's a $20,000 replacement. I
Okay.
think it's probably Army surplus is what I'm guessing
yeah,
that we
yeah.
got.
yeah.
We,
So-
20 years ago or so, there was a large amount of Army surplus equipment that came available.
Mhm.
And when Buster Charbonneau was road agent, we made some extensive purchasing through that because we bought some Dodge pickups for like $200
Right.
that didn't have 1,000 miles on. Yeah,
Wow.
and that's where a lot of this equipment
Yeah.
came from.
Okay, next one says Falcon Hut Box. Apparently that's also way out in the future.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's good, that's fine. Next one is Roscoe Vibratory Roller. That shows replacement this coming year.
That you.
For almost
Back to that
$30,000.
last one,
That's the
please.
3 to 5 ton.
Now, do we need to do that?
I'm sorry, I would like to go back to the hot box.
Oh, sorry, all right, go ahead.
Originally, it was recommended as 2039, and now we're looking at 2033. Is that, am I reading that right?
Well, the 2033, the things that are in yellow that we put there
Yes.
were what was in last year's
I get you.
item.
Yes.
The recommended is based on now we put the year purchase expected life and it ricks differently. That's just a choice. Don't know the status of the hot box. I know it was down not long
How many
ago.
years, what should the life be?
Rebuild.
Depends on how much it gets used, because,
What's our best guess?
Right now we have it as a 20-year.
I wouldn't go longer than 20.
No, I was gonna say, that's.
So
probably the
at
max.
20 years, it comes out in what, replacement in what year then?
39. That's what I'm getting at.
That's what he's getting at.
But the
If it's-
budget is currently recommending that it be replaced in 33, which is.
So 2019 and 20, yeah, for some reason that it says 2039 over here for recommended.
Yep.
So
So,
why does it show up?
well, no, that's the 2033 came from last year's report and we're gonna change it right now.
There you go, that's the point. There you go, there you go.
So that's what we're here for.
So
Is
we're
to
talking,
update all these dates.
Go ahead.
we're talking the roller, is that the roller we're talking about?
Now we're talking about the roller.
Hot box.
Falcon Hut. Go ahead and fix it.
That's, we were, please, are we talking 2039 for that now?
2039 now, yeah.
Okay.
That'll be a matter, some of that, of just watching it, because
Right,
that is oil fired. You get a more intense heat than you get with the LP fired ones. You have to watch the bottom of the box for burnout.
2039 is a long time away.
Well, you got plenty of time to look at it.
So
It's kind of-
2033 we'll
Yeah.
keep an eye on it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
So,
Good catch, good catch, thank you.
It's okay.
So the vibratory roller is,
Right now, that's listed as a 40-year. It was bought in 92. Or it is a 92. I don't know if we bought it in 92. I don't know if that was new or not.
Here when I got here.
I believe that.
So that right now, it was pushed
terrible
up.
condition, needs replacement right
Well,
away.
I believe that was new.
Really?
I think that's about when they got it.
Well, there's another one where, we, now looking at purchasing that next year.
Roscoe Roller says current condition good,
Right?
may need valve on the vibratory.
So my question, yeah, I saw that, current condition good, so why are we saying we have to buy it right this coming year?
That's inappropriate size roll for what we need. It's way undersized.
Oh.
That's more of a sidewalk,
Doesn't meet the need.
sidewalk roll. Yeah. Whereas we need.
My question is, why are we thinking about replacing it instead of just putting in for a vibratory?
Yeah, I wouldn't replace that little roll, because that thing's handy to do some stuff. I'd add to.
That's what I'm saying. I don't recommend replacing that roll. I recommend it goes into a capital outlay for purchasing a vibratory.
A bigger, a larger one,
Yes,
just add it to the list.
All right, so all we need then is.
So Bob, if you
How
can
much
talk
money
to
we
somebody, let's get a price for what we have to do to get
I got one
the
in-
size you need.
okay.
One at a time, guys.
I got the one in, that Enfield is still using. I bought that through T-Quip as a lease return
Right.
with less than 2,000 hours on it. It was $100,000 roll. I got it delivered to the shed for 38,000.
Well, that was a good deal that you got that time. What should we have in a plan for? If we
We'll
have to
have
buy
get
one,
prices, have
Well,
to
that's,
get
what
prices.
we'll do is we'll get, he's gonna get prices for replacing it.
Yeah.
and you're gonna add an item.
And then we'll add them
to
here. Yep, it's on my
Right,
list.
and
We'll have
let's-
larger
Yep.
ruler or
Great.
something.
But let's go back to the little guy. Right, so we're not gonna be,
So we're not gonna replace it.
replace that in 2025.
We should push it out to the future somewhere.
Right, we're gonna push that out to some place in the future. What's that date, I guess is what I'm getting at.
If it's in good condition, go to God.
Well, if we have it listed at 40 years from when it was, so it's basically like if you wanna add 5 years, we'll just add 5 years to it now for a placeholder.
I would.
Well, it was purchased in 92, so.
We'll just go from 2025 to 2030 and we'll see what it does.
Let's do that.
And that just gives us a placeholder for now, cause we don't know.
Okay, but it could be consistent, right? Because it was purchased in 92 and you have a 40-year life expectancy on it.
Right.
Which would take you to 2032.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
So that's what I would expect to be the budget year. It's 2032.
There it is.
It's a recommended year. We'll go
Okay,
there and
Because
there.
that's one of those items that doesn't get a lot of use.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
I was saying,
He just did that, so.
You just did that.
He just made that change.
32.
All right, yep.
Of course.
Okay.
So, we'll be 2032. And then we have a new roller.
Correct. A new larger roller.
Oh, boy, I'm excited.
So was the light going to be used for the roads? Is that the point as opposed to sidewalks?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. All right. The Mark II power screen, that's out in, looks like 2030 or so. Probably only. Power screen, fair condition, does it not get a lot of use that we're not critical to us? That's why we can wait 5 years or what?
Well, now,
I would argue that now that we don't have our own gravel pit / sand pit, we're using it a lot less.
Okay,
So that's why your budget is recommending 2 years past, oh, it's two years sooner than the budget?
Well, this is what, like I said, what it was. I would recommend not going before 2028 and we can put it at 2030 and just again,
I would not get rid of it,
yes.
because there's a lot of material.
Yep.
That you can bring in from these job
Oh,
sites that can
absolutely.
be screened out and reused.
Well, it's like one of those things that, anything that's an over a 5% ditch line, you're supposed to stone line them. Well, after you've done that and you go clean it out, you can always screen it
You
and
run it
reuse
through
the
screen and
stone.
Get your stone back.
I should pick up a bunch on ballpark.
got it. I think I'm hearing it's not heavy use.
It's not heavy use and it's not a critical item.
Fine.
So
So
2030 now.
Push it out 2 years? Is
Grizzly box.
30, okay.
that what we're saying?
Well,
Have we
Yes,
said
we'll go to
this?
2030.
Yeah.
Versus where we were?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, gotcha.
Oh, yeah.
Next one, New Holland roadside mower, 2026, right?
Yeah.
That's expensive, 200,000 for roadside mower.
I'll tell you, I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna float this and just see what everybody thinks. Roadside mowers are a nightmare. In general. They just, the tractors really aren't made for the weight that they get on the side. It causes issues. We finally got to the point where I guess Kubota makes one that's made for its tractor. But it's almost like if you go to a 7 or 8 year lease, you just keep turning them over and you just, every 8 years, because they're always an issue. And one of the things that roadside mowers affect and everything else is, it's all about uptime, okay? If we keep having equipment break down, you get behind, you don't catch up. It's just, if we're going to maintain it, it's such a regular thing and it's such, in many cases, such a expense to keep fixing them.
Sounds like it makes sense to me. What are the equipment guys in the room think?
If, the only thing, if you can find a company that will do the leasing.
Well,
I ended up purchasing.
Yep.
Because I could not find a company that had an affordable.
right,
lease.
Kubota did them and it was like, it worked well. It was kind of crazy, but it did. I mean, it's just a mindset issue.
The state of New Hampshire lease program thing?
Do not know the answer to that. I don't know how they do it or who they deal with. That we can
State of
find
New
out.
Hampshire,
Yeah.
They ended up, they went back to purchasing.
Doing their own.
Yeah, that's actually what caused, that's how we got our backhoe so fast.
Yes.
Because they, I guess a couple of years ago, they said they weren't gonna lease anymore, they were gonna buy all their equipment. And then when the state put out the bid, they put it out for leases. And Cat won the bid, they ordered 60 of them or something like that.
67 of them.
Yeah, it's like
something that.
67 of them. And then it went to the Secretary of State and they said, oh no, we're not leasing anymore, and they canceled the order, so they had a whole bunch of them on the
And they
ground.
already arrived.
But it was like they weren't gonna do leases anymore.
So that was useful information, but I had a different question. Is there not an organization at the state level that helps towns lease equipment?
You have purchasing. I've never received literature on leasing through the state. Everything has always been their state.
You can get
Really, that's
you can get them
big.
for state contract pricing, but
Okay.
not necessarily leasing.
Oh,
The company that we now work in, right? So you would theoretically ask them if they'll.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would talk to Republic first and say, what do you want to do for a lease? We paid 5 and change %.
So
for the
theoretically,
current lease.
We could add to the 1.2 billion for the fire truck, and then this 200 or something might be.
I
something.
kind of, this is one that I would, if we were gonna do the roadside mower one, I would want to keep that in its own little world, simply because it's gonna be a constant cycle where like if we buy a ladder truck, it's not gonna do that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? You're gonna have your 7-year lease or your 5-year lease, and then we're gonna have it for another 15 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just, I want to keep those financings separate.
so
To
taking
a
all that
degree.
into account, I have a suggestion. I think we should add to the list of the tickler list, the evaluation of whether or not roadside mower leasing will be available. Because we're hearing it might not be available. Chet's gonna check that out, so that
Yeah.
should go on that list of open actions.
Yep,
In the
'cause-
meantime, since we don't know if it's available or not, we wanna be sure it's on here in the plan somewhere.
Well, it's there for the
Is it
200,000.
reasonable to be in 2026 at $200,000? If we have to buy one,
I believe so.
Yeah, yeah.
all right.
I mean, my
Yes.
thing is the only thing that's gonna do, if we go to a
Let's
lease,
evaluate lease
if we
fee,
go
yeah.
to a lease and we can also just say, we're gonna do a 7-year hard replacement cycle if it's cheaper. You know what I mean? Like, and just put it in that way, or whatever that number.
But we
is.
have an open item to track.
Yep.
That Tom will, thank you. Tom. All right, the next one is the chipper.
The chipper.
What did he say about the chipper? It's on here, there it is. Good to excellent condition.
Yeah.
And the replacement on here is well out in the future, it looks like,
Yes, because that's.
fairly new, good.
And that's one that, the reason we just had to do some repairs because they hadn't used it in a couple of years and we had to actually clean the DEF system out.
Ah, okay.
So, but it is in good working order now.
Yeah.
The next 4 items are actually
Yeah.
items.
We have we're recommending, the recommended is 2034, but the budget year is 2033 on that. So is it? From
On the
stay at
chipper?
2000, yes, at 2033.
We can put it at 2034 and just keep it consistent.
Yeah, keep it consistent, I agree.
There we
That's
go.
good.
Okay.
And then the next
Good.
4 things are the things that are replaced in the purchase.
What do you
That's
mean
why
by-
they don't have a replacement value, because they're already showing up.
The
with
greater,
those.
we leased it, it's,
Yeah,
Right,
release
right,
them,
yeah.
release them. We gotta put the leasing numbers in there. for it.
Greater.
so, but I do have a question about that.
Yes.
Let's take the Volvo grader for a second. It's not in this plan anywhere. Does that mean then, because in dollar value, I mean, in any years, does that mean we won't be saving enough money in our bank account for a future date when we have to either buy or lease another?
No, it's supposed to be in there and I gotta put the lease numbers in there and then we'll
Ah,
calculate
I
in.
don't see the numbers.
Yeah.
So you're gonna add that.
We gotta add
That's
those,
another item, Tom, for the to-do list then. Need to enter
cause here you go.
dollars for lease.
Oh, actually, sorry, it's in there.
It's in there where?
No, when you go to the sheet behind the equipment worksheet, it's all in yellow.
Yeah,
You'll see Volvo grader, it's a 2004, the replacement cost on this was 2321, 12-year life. And it is calculated into the
recommended-
overall recommended appropriation, yes.
Okay,
So-
so it's not gonna show up then on the capital worksheet.
Not yet, no. I
Oh,
gotta,
it
I gotta update those numbers to put the lease in.
There you go. So it is a two, excuse me.
It's in there
It
for
is
the
a to-do
overall.
Item.
Right.
I'm gonna clarify that, so we have it on our list.
Yeah, that's fine.
You need to get the leases of the two major pieces of equipment.
Right.
That we have received. that we're leasing, you need to get those numbers.
Mhm.
To
Into this, yes.
reflect in the capital worksheet.
Yes,
Okay, that's the to-do item, Tom?
We're talking about the grader
The
and
grader
what?
And
the
one-
grader backhoe and 2 trucks.
Well, for the moment, all right, you're right.
It's the 2
Great-
trucks
Four
also.
pieces of equipment,
Yeah.
greater backhoe and 2
2
dump
trucks,
trucks.
yeah.
Right, right.
You're
Okay.
listing where you list
Okay.
the Volvo grader, the equipment that has left or leaving.
Mhm.
Can you change?
Yeah, I can change all the names.
Change the
That's what I'm
description.
saying, cause
Yeah.
the way I run this, when I was
And actually,
in
I-
my own, is I would show that it left, the year it left, and then start the new line with what would be the Cat 120. Cause I showed, I had a line on my system that it would just show that replaced 2023, and then I just had a note in there that it was, sold or.
It's-
Well, we
So it's
didn't,
out of the
typically, because it doesn't get calculated into the other numbers, when we have the new purchase, it just overrides it and then it just takes the other one out, is how this is set up.
I
So-
heard the suggestion, you could think about it.
I mean,
It would make
if
sense
I were
that-
gonna add it, I would add it at the bottom and say sold this year. It wouldn't be any of the calculations. It would just be a list item.
Yeah, cause mine, I
Right.
would say sold,
Right.
and then on that calculation, it would all just be zeroed out,
Right.
and the calculations moved to current.
Right. So we'll see what we can do. I'll
Yeah.
figure out how to get that in there.
It wouldn't be a
I
bad-
mean, that's just how, I had it that way, cause it helped me on what I actually had for current inventory of equipment.
Yeah.
That I was actually had.
And then the next
in
4
service.
items were listed as phasing out.
So. You mean, truck number 9?
No,
No.
below that. No, I skipped down to the.
So we gotta
This,
go-
this was all
The
part of the
next one
4.
after the Volvo grader was truck number 9,
Truck number 9, which is in the it'll be here next spring.
and that's already.
And I gotta
ordered
put
on the
that,
lease.
yes,
Got
I
it,
gotta
got
put the
it.
lease, I gotta put the lease in for all 4 of these items.
The next one is the backhoe,
Right.
here already on the,
Yep.
yes, correct. The next one is the portable sign, okay. you're
That's
right.
listed as phasing out,
Thank
and then
Right.
phasing out for that. A 96
Phasing out.
Ford roadside mower, the Volvo excavator, and International bulldozer are all being phased out as the list said.
The only one I'd like to ask about is the excavator. That was very controversial at a deliberative session. And I just wanted to ask the highway guys, what do you think about not getting a replacement excavator? You're gonna be, is this the
This is
discussion
the-
about lease one, or rent one once a year for a month, maybe? kind of
Yes,
thing?
Yes,
Yeah.
this is the big excavator.
Yeah, I understand. that.
Yeah,
Very
this
expensive.
was purchased. This was purchased a number of years ago,
Mhm.
and it was purchased with highway block grant money,
Okay,
and that never went to town meeting for any discussion.
okay, I would like.
The small excavator they currently have was the one that was the discussion at deliberative.
It was, yeah,
This one was
playing
just-
one off against the other, but okay.
Right,
Yeah,
So-
probably, yeah, saying they already had one.
So if we bought a brand new big excavator, are you saying that you really wouldn't use it very much? You don't have that much use for
we're
it?
talking about spending 250 to 300 grand.
Yeah.
For something.
For
that
something
does
you're
not
gonna
help
get, the
regularly-
mini gets used all the time.
Yeah.
My thing is if you you say, we're gonna do all of this stuff, you get one for a month. In 4
Mhm.
weeks, you can do a lot
Oh,
of work.
absolutely, yeah.
All right.
And
As long
there-
as you guys are comfortable with that. that's
and
what I
there
wanna-
are local contractors, leasing outfits,
Right.
that you can even rent a big machine or any of these. You can rent by the day, by the week, by the month. So there's no reason for the hours that this machine will not having the pit, there's no reason to have it.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly, it goes back to not having to pay.
That's fine,
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask that question. All right, we've reached the end of that list, I think. Let me look at my questions. I might have had something in there that we haven't touched
Thinking
on.
about that, what's the Hudson 6-ton trailer? It's on,
That's a
That's a
small
small
equipment trailer.
where is it?
It's not on, it's not on this list.
No,
We gotta
no.
add that.
Okay,
Is it worth enough money? It's clearly over 10 grand.
New, yes.
New, yeah, okay. So, yeah, you gotta add it to it.
Yeah.
So that's on guys.
okay, how about
Wait, wait,
the,
wait. Stay for that a minute. Where was that on guys' report, please?
Do you have another copy of that list?
All right, there it is.
Just
So,
above the heavy haul.
so.
I do, I have like 3, I think.
Tom, there's another item to add to the.
Highway truck
to the-
evaluation.
which
What's
is-
that?
Which is, Chet will add the Hudson 6-ton trailer.
Oh, it's on his list.
Right, you
Yeah.
need added to your plan.
Yeah.
That's the item that Tom's keeping track of.
Will
Hudson
be
6-ton
added to
trailer.
to
To the
the
plan.
inventory list.
Yes. Yes, all right. It's on the mechanics report, it's gotta be added to the inventory.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
good.
the,
What was
my
that?
MD tag along sweeper,
Oh, yeah, I noticed that too, this week. On the mechanic, it's on the mechanics report, it's the last item.
It is, yeah.
What about it?
It's in poor shape, it's old.
Yeah.
We don't have it
Actually,
on our.
but it's not on our list.
Right, so
Yeah.
that's
Don't
the
have it
first
on our
question.
Yeah.
Should it be?
there's something to throw away to use.
I don't know, how much are they worth right now? I mean, a couple years ago it wouldn't have been a $10,000 item, but.
No.
But I don't know.
Usually it's a add-on to the backhoe now.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be an attachment for the backhoe.
But would you wanna tie up the backhoe? Keep it from doing all
Right,
the work.
well, say
For
we
what
use it to
little?
sweep the bridges, you know, in the spring, when we were shouldered South Road, I mean.
Yeah,
it
we used to
was when
put,
it was down, we actually swept it all by hand because,
but
and
we,
then we
we used,
borrowed one from Enfield, actually.
we actually had we would take the front bucket off the backhoe and just, for like 2 weeks, just sweep, or 3 weeks.
Right,
And then
that
that was
that would
it.
be.
Enfield, we've got the, of course, that's the IT system on backhoe and loader.
Yeah.
We bought one of the angle brooms,
Yeah,
sour angle brooms.
Yeah.
We usually run it on the loader just for visibility
yeah,
purposes
in the articulation.
and articulation to follow around the corner.
And
Um,
now the one on the loader, now you're getting into the 15-20 grand range for a sweeper.
Hmm.
If we
It's
go that
same-
way.
If you have, depending on what you have for a coupler, we've got problem now, two mismatches between loader and backhoe,
Right,
but. Out there, we've not purchased with IT will fit either,
Mhm.
and that's why I could use it on either, but I use it primarily with the loader because of the articulation to follow a curve. The tow behind broom that they borrowed from Enfield, that was an old motorized broom, same thing as what
what we had.
Dan has,
Yeah.
and we swapped that over to hydraulic drive and
Mm.
drove it off the hydraulics of the truck.
Can you-
Said all that, what's the best plan for this time? What should we be planning to do as far as a sweeper? We need something. So
Yes.
What's the best approach?
I think it would be definitely an attachment for the back.
I'd phase it out, yeah.
Yeah,
So you
Yeah,
wanna
phase
phase
out
this
that
out,
attachment. Yeah,
phase this thing out.
You wanna
together
phase
out.
this one out, but you wanna have.
And we don't even have it to the list, right?
So,
Right.
so
We're gonna
when
add
you're
something to
talking
this.
about the other
We're gonna add
item,
something to the-
getting some pricing, let's get a price for a broom for either the backhoe or the
for an
loader.
attachment.
So
For an
down for the
attachment.
follow-up list, add sweeper to equipment
Because
inventory.
this backhoe has the IT or the quick.
They gotta work on what sweeper, but
Right.
as long as we have that item on the follow-up
Hydraulic,
list.
Yeah.
Circle.
That's for auxiliary, but.
Okay, because you will need, obviously need.
Right,
that. Or it just rolls along.
Alright, so I got that, I got that, got that. got all
Yeah,
that.
that's all for, I thought it was, but I wasn't.
And getting it for the
I think I
backhoe,
just
like make
missed
sure you
this.
had a minimum 8 foot.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Because you're turning, so you're gonna need something to cover
Right.
before the rear wheel gets there.
Yep. Right, if you don't want jigging. You know,
What's the, I missed this, where's the 5644 tractor?
What'd you say?
That's your roadside mower.
That's
One of your,
roadside
one of your
mower?
roadside
Yes.
mowers, yeah.
One of?
They have
That's
two.
More.
Where does that come from? Is that on the mechanics report?
Is that
Yeah, it's
the,
on the mechanics report.
is that the Ford, the New Holland?
Yeah,
Yeah.
5640.
Oh, there's the New Holland and then,
5640 is that.
5640 Ford tractor with
Okay.
boom mower.
That's that one.
200,000.
right,
New Holland roadside mower?
that's in there on the New Holland roadside mower. 200.
That's the one.
That's what we're buying this next year.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
Just trying to get the names straight, so I know. you
Got it.
and those were all my questions. We also, we've covered them.
That's true, yeah.
That's all I have. One on any of these.
So we've made some changes today.
Yeah.
You're gonna add a couple of items, probably throw an estimated dollar value, that will.
Right.
Add a little bit to the appropriations and so on.
Yeah.
So as soon as you get a chance to do that stuff, can you send this revised plan back out to us?
yes,
In a week or so.
and then because then we're still repopulating the road and buildings one for the next meeting, so
For the
that,
next-
yeah,
right,
this is
right,
the only
right.
thing that will be like done.
The only thing we'd like to see the result of today's equipment discussion.
Right, and then I'll coordinate with Hugh, and we'll get the fire department stuff in there, so we can have a number for that and the
Right.
ambulance for the
Right.
stretchers. We'll get those things added, so you can have everything we've done to date, whatever the latest
Yeah,
is.
good, so we can review what.
Yeah.
Yeah, the overall effect of what we've been talking.
And then
about.
right before the next meeting, I hope I'll send you out what the road stuff we'll be
Good.
talking about.
Good, that'll be good.
Yeah.
All right,
We didn't have, Ryan Porter here, his meeting we had a board, which was great, and she got us educated about special meetings. And I don't know if there's any equipment that Ryan needs that is now
Well, it
in
is,
the operating budget that might go over the $10,000 number. And I don't know if anybody's asked him that question, so.
well, and it's one of the things that we talked about, because in the last week or so, you know, in the same context of like, turnout gear,
Mhm.
cumulatively being a big number.
Mhm.
Well, the issue with when you talk about body cams
Right.
and all of this electronic stuff.
Mhm.
The stuff that we're gonna have to upgrade is close to $100,000
Right,
as a package.
right,
Okay, he's looking to get a grant for 50. But yes, I would say that if we put that in as a collective item, like, you know, this type of technology, whatever it is. That could be capitalized.
so that would be an update to the police.
Correct.
As well.
Yep.
And it would come out of the.
that would be a different approach. We've always bought that stuff in the past.
Oh, I
We
know.
bought it out of.
Yeah.
We bought it out of general budget,
Right.
rather than as a capital.
Well, the thing it allows you to
I'm
do
not saying
is,
it's bad, I'm just saying it's a big change in approach.
yeah, it's a 5 or 6 year life,
Right.
and it allows us to level fund.
Mhm.
So that we don't have, you know, a 50,000 this year and then nothing, 60,000 5 years from now. You know, it's that kind of concept.
They're looking right now because of stuff being pushed back. You got their tasers. They can't even buy a part. The inserts are only available until the inventory runs out. Their body cameras are already starting to malfunction because of the age of them. That's 39 grand.
So like you said. the
Firearms
and
have been
stuff.
pushed back. And he's looking, what he told, he's looking at a leasing program for body cams.
Right.
So that when they're reaching their lifespan, it would just be an ongoing lease. They just get the new ones under the lease. So you're not left with a residual.
The question is not whether they're needed or not, whether it's right. I mean, the only question is it appropriate to use capital reserve money
Well,
or
and
general
that's,
budget money? That's
Right.
all we're talking about.
Yeah,
Not whether they
and-
need it or not.
well, the thing
They're
is-
getting to the point
Yeah.
now where that it's pretty much gonna have to be capital because most of this stuff is all individually. It's like your turnout gear,
Mhm,
an individual set is $4,000,
mhm.
but if you have to buy 4 sets
I
every
understand.
year,
Yeah.
now you're into that capital
I
and
hear
we're
that.
into that same
So that-
side on.
That might bring us
lease.
to a technicality check, and I think you will need, and again, I'm not opposed to it, I'm just saying. It might be that the voters in Canaan approved the capital reserve fund for police vehicles.
and I can look
If
at
they
that,
approved it for vehicles, we might be treading on thin ice.
right,
To use capital reserve money
right,
for this kind of equipment. I don't know the answer to that,
And
but
I-
I
and-
think we
and-
should find out,
that's correct.
just to be legal,
Yep.
that's all.
No, and that's fine, and the thing is, and the one thing that, and this is why we haven't talked about it in more detail yet, is while we're deciding if we do the $35,000 lease in 5 years, that's an operations expense,
That's
it's not a
that's
capital.
anyway, right,
So
anyway,
we
right.
know that collectively, this is what all this stuff does, but
Right.
we don't know.
But before you even consider if capital reserve
Right.
is an option, we need to be sure it's legal. I'm
Correct.
not sure it is. I think police and fire were approved for vehicles by
Okay.
the voters.
But I will check that.
Yeah, I think, the capital reserve account was set up for vehicles. I know
I think
on
so,
police
yeah,
because
yeah.
I was on the
Correct.
budget committee then. But it could, that doesn't say we can't
We could change it.
we can open up another capital reserve,
Well,
add into it.
or
for-
I would actually just write the article to say we are gonna add other long-term
That's what I'm
expenses.
saying. It could
Either
be
way,
Yeah,
right,
and,
right,
and that's
I
what
agree.
we would do.
Yeah.
So if that's the decision, once we have all the
Yeah.
items here and say, well, this item, we're gonna have to change it, so we're gonna change the language, because one of the things that I'm gonna recommend that goes on as a ballot article to change is the way the equipment fund is written, because it's written that the voters have to put the money in, and only the voters can take it out,
You mean highway department?
highway department.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is
Yeah.
when we're going to get our pricing, if it changes by 10% after the vote and we
Yeah,
got the
yeah,
price and,
yeah.
you know, we have no ability to raise that money from the fund. So it's
Well,
like, it's one of those
take that
things
for a
that we want to make sure.
That might have been a little too fast for a couple of folks in the room. Currently, the warrant article that was approved by the voters many years ago for highway department equipment was that the voters have to, A, approve the savings, the input to capital reserve funds, and the voters have to approve the spending of the money before we can ever place a purchase order.
And in
So,
talking, and in
let's-
talking to the attorney, the thing that complicated it, I said, well, what if I gave a 10% cushion and said not to exceed? And he said, you can't do it.
Can't do that.
So if you have to
So-
put the exact number in, you don't know what the exact
See,
number
we
is
used
until
to be
after.
able to put not to exceed.
Right, but he's telling me, no, I can't do that.
So at any rate,
Yeah.
what Chet's suggesting is he's gonna suggest a warrant article, which I would support.
Yeah.
That would say, in March, it would change the town's rules regarding at least highway equipment and maybe others, but at least for highway department, vehicles. Change, a warrant article where the voters would say, okay, you gotta get voter approval to put money in the bank. But the select board will be authorized
To
to
expend.
decide when to spend it.
And we have, and about half of
That's
our,
what
it's
he
about
said.
half and half.
That's a problem.
And all of our reserve funds, it's about half and half. Some are, the select board can expend, and some are the voters have
Right,
to
right,
expend,
right,
and
right.
that's just one that happens to be
Yeah.
complicated to do it the other way.
Now, highway vehicles are like that. What about fire? Aren't they the same thing?
Yep.
So maybe you
But I-
want a warrant article for.
Well, no, and anything that's like, that's a
Oh.
number that we're not gonna have a fine number at the end.
Yeah.
We need to modify that the select board can expend so that we can adjust.
Yeah, see, we always wrote the warrant articles not to exceed because you got a budgetary quote.
Right.
Wrote your warrant article. And then you got your bid. And that was your final
Right.
number, and 9 times out of 10, that was a little bit lower, so it was always
I see.
written not to exceed that amount.
But we can do that with the warrant article like we just wrote for the water. Because it's just not to exceed borrowing of that amount.
Mhm.
But when it's because the voters expend. It can't be a not to exceed, it has to be a number.
See, we got in twofold. Right around 79 or 80. Where the town put in warrant article. To buy a loader backhoe for the town, because at that point, everything was rented. Chadwick Bay Ross took in a lease return Michigan loader. And a JCB 3D backhoe. They said they would sell the town that pair of equipment, which was a big plus for the town to have loader and loader backhoe for that same money. The wording of the article was to buy a loader backhoe.
Right.
So we purchased the loader backhoe. And did a lease purchase of the loader for $1.
Okay,
And
So-
it was just.
Yeah,
that
it's just,
legal
it's just,
technicality to
yeah,
get
it just is one of those things that, you know, we'll
So we-
figure out
yeah.
how we're gonna go about it.
I think we've finished the equipment review for today. We're gonna obviously review it after you send out the results of the spread on the spreadsheet. I just want to confirm that we're gonna meet 2 weeks from today. I want to remind everybody, we only have time, if we meet every 2 weeks, for 4 more meetings. And the fourth one should be an overview of everything. What does it all mean? What is the total, what do the bottom line totals look like? Which means we only have really 3 meetings to finish going through all this stuff in detail like this. So let's be cognizant of that. It's possible when we get into September, if we're not gonna make it, we might have to meet once a week, a couple of times. So, but for right now, 2 weeks from today, those are the future meeting dates. And the next time is supposed to be road reconstruction and buildings, right? I noticed on buildings, by the way, you dropped the highway garage edition off the spreadsheet. Was that on purpose?
No,
No, all right, enough said.
and the
All
other,
right, Eric.
and,
Enough said.
and,
Enough said.
well,
That's good.
and,
Enough for
yeah,
today.
but you know, today, DMS started the little repair over here. And because we hadn't, protected from water. It looks like driftwood in the walls. It's all rotted and there's nothing left. So the project just grew.
Which project is that?
This,
The
we're fixing the
water
window,
leak.
window in the front of the garage.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was gonna be a $5,000 job. That just changed.
All right, so anyway, next time it's the road reconstruction buildings. Does anybody have any other business? If not,
Motion to adjourn.
need a second.
Second.
Who
Scott,
seconded it?
Scott,
That's on.
Scott seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
No,
Let's
you,
adjourn.
you blame me